How's it going, friends and family of the internet? Welcome to the Real AF TV podcast, the show about fishing and random takes from the land of 10,000 lakes. I'm one of your hosts, Josh LaBaw.
And I am Tim Wagner. That
Tim?
wasn't me.
that was me, and I figured I just wanted to kick the podcast off with a bang because coming up in the fishing topic, we have our first fishing guest. You're gonna have to wait to see who it is, and in the second half, we are going to talk about sports. So many sports happened this past week when this drops. So far, when we record this, you're going to hear pull the curtain back. Yeah, it hasn't happened yet. We're recording before the weekend, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
Yes.
I don't think that the video is going to work with our fishing guest. Tou and me and Tim had to connect on a different platform than what we're used to, and I wasn't able to solve the total technical situation. So I think it's going to be audio only for you people who were over on YouTube that looked us up with looking up Real AF TV, REEL AF TV, Real like fish and reel on the YouTubes. You can get the video podcast over there. For all you audio listeners, you can go check it out. But actually, I think the whole first half is going to be audio. I'm saying this because I haven't got to the editing floor yet, but I'm very certain that we're not going to have video for the fish and feed, but that's okay. It's still a great part of the podcast.
Yes, and honestly, there wasn't much to watch on that one anyways. We talked about things and even made a reference of what things would be if we could see.
But not a lot of hand gestures like we're used to.
No.
Not a lot of like, the fish was this big. No, I'm kidding. We don't do that.
The fish was on the waves.
But we do tend to talk with our hands. And for some reason during that conversation, I don't think we really did. So anyways, the Real AF TV podcast, if you're new, we come out bi-monthly every other week. We drop on Mondays, and then on our off week, we actually cut the podcast in half. The fishing take comes out on Wednesdays, and the random take comes out on Fridays. So the Real AF TV podcast on YouTube is always dropping stuff. But if you're in the podcast feed on iHeart or iTunes or Spotify, you will get a new podcast every other week from us. We're going to do housekeeping quick here in the beginning. Then we're going to get into the fishing. And then we're going to get into the random take where we're going to talk about, Jesus, what a sports-filled week it is. Weekend it is. Anyways, housekeeping. Sports. All right. This week we're brought to you Monster Bass and Real AF TV Patreon, which you can find if you go to realaf.tv. There's a big old Patreon button right there at the top. And go to realaf.tv/contact. Give us feedback on the podcast. We are looking for that. But you can also do that in a podcast review, which you can see on Spotify if you're listening over there, or you can do it on iTunes because Apple Podcasts be a huge place where podcasts get noticed. So if you can give us a review, that'll help bump us up to the top, and we read them, and then we get the feedback, and we will change the podcast. Tim, I have to ask you.
What?
Pandora in the music podcast that we did, and when we talked about, we talked about funk music for an hour.
Yes, we did.
I forgot to ask. Are you listening to podcasts on Pandora?
No, I'm not.
But they're there? Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, I've thought about it. Yeah, they even have it in their commercials. They're like, you might like podcasts. Check it out. And I don't know if I get those commercials because I don't listen to their podcasts on Pandora. But like I already listen on Spotify and Google, and it just feels like, why? You know, like
Right, 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 right,
that's the
right.
only, and I don't have anything against Pandora, but it's just like,
No.
you know, that platform. I like Pandora because I like that it's like radio. Like
Right.
when you go into Spotify and you put in artists, a lot of
Mhm,
times it's like, here's that artist, and you're like, that's cool. But I
mhm.
just kind of want stuff that, you know, I want to be able to just be like the funk or whatever. And I know
Right.
Spotify works like that too,
Mhm.
in some ways, but I'm not as well
Right, but
versed in
Pandora is
that.
almost like the
So
originator of that, like, digital DJ almost,
yeah,
right?
well, like Pandora, like is what it says. It's perfect. It's digital radio,
Right.
and
Right.
it'll just become. Plus, I've used Pandora for a lot longer, and when I thumbs up the music, there's thumbprint radio, which I
Mm.
enjoy a lot, where it just plays all the
Mhm.
songs that I liked.
Right. Right.
So I get like a huge shuffle of like random stuff because my music tastes are all over the place. So I have so
Right,
many
right, right.
different like genres and everything, and I enjoy listening to that. Where it's like I have no idea what I'm
Mhm.
gonna hear, but I know it's everything I like.
Right, 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 right.
They
And
do
and
they
then
do throw
so
in some
for
stuff
that
that's
reason,
not.
podcasts don't fall into your view of Pandora, but let
But
us
I
know.
know,
That's why I
yeah, but
talk.
I know that they're on there because they
Yep.
do. I was thinking about checking them out because it sounds like they have like different suggestions and stuff. Like I
Oh,
have heard other
okay.
podcasts that I listen to give Pandora a shout out. Like we learned about you because of Pandora's suggestions. So I'm like,
Oh, okay.
maybe they're good at suggesting stuff
Sure.
because I
Almost
do
like
like
the thumbs
fishing.
up thing,
Yeah,
right? Like, where you're just like, "Oh, I thumbed up this Dr. Dre song, so now all of a
yeah,
sudden I get these Kendrick Lamar songs too."
yep. Well, and because there's, you know, there's so many different podcasts out there nowadays, and
Right.
I like fishing podcasts and stuff. Jason Mitchell Outdoors podcast I mentioned
Mhm.
upcoming here. I keep
Yep, in the
forgetting that, but
right,
like,
that we're recording this pull
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Hey, production.
But um I have only been listening to that for a couple of weeks because I didn't know it
Mhm.
existed until recently,
Right.
and it's been going for years. So, and
Right.
it's more consistent as of late. It was one of those where they just kind of like recorded when they felt like it, you know. Where
Okay,
some of those where you look
okay.
at it and they're just like, oh, it's been around since 2016,
Yep.
and it's like there was 3 episodes in that year. You're like,
Right.
oh, okay.
You're like, "Oh, well, okay, that doesn't count."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But now this, I mean, now it's like weekly and it's super,
Sure.
super good stuff. I'm very impressed with it. But like I had
Nice.
no idea it existed.
Right.
So because of that, I have been thinking about checking out Pandora, where to just be like, what do you suggest? Because when you Google it, and maybe I gotta go to a different search engine like DuckDuckGo or something, because when you Google it,
Mhm.
you get the same regurgitated bullshit
Yeah.
where it's like top 10 fishing podcasts and it is the same list for everyone. It's like the bloggers just copy and paste it and then write
Right.
their own words.
There's like 10 blogs, and they're the top 10 hits on the first page of Google, and they
Yeah.
just copied each other.
Yeah. And it's just like,
Right.
come on, there's got to be like nobody has a different opinion. Like
Right,
you
like,
all
the
have the
Real
same.
AF podcast will never be on there because I realize what you guys are doing is just copying and pasting and
Yeah.
linking to each other's sites, and that's how SEO works, and this is a geek talking.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's like, do I go to DuckDuckGo and then they give me like more relevant search?
And it kinda breaks that traditional SEO. I don't know. But
Yeah.
that's also a really good point, and why I wanted to ask you is because the Real AF TV podcast is not on Pandora, and I just had that sort of thought. It's like, we're on Amazon, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify. It's like, we're on the big platforms, and then I was just like, "Wait, shit, maybe I'm missing Pandora." Like, maybe we should be on Pandora, and maybe based on what you're saying, I think we should be. So,
Yeah. And I
hey,
don't know
chalk
how
that
that.
up to the goals. I think I might have to put that on the blog post, and also check off the fact that you got a camera. Fuck yes.
Yes.
The
Yep.
underwater camera.
Yep. Got to check that off. Also, kind of check off the walleye through the ice. I didn't catch it, but it came out of my ice house. The
Nice.
guy that was with us on Ottertail caught a 19-inch, and I forgot to bring the fucking SD card, but I saw 2 more walleye down there on the camera.
No shit.
So I saw we were at least in the right area. We didn't get those other 2 to bite. I'm a little bit nervous that the camera's the reason that they didn't bite. But it was also my first time ever having it down, and then I realized I was like a foot away from my ice hole.
Oh, okay.
So I know that this is the random take, and I guess this is a good spot to talk about this, where we are talking about fishing, but we're talking about life here.
Right.
And he caught a 19-inch fish. That's a good fish.
Hell yeah.
And then we saw a couple more down there, and it would have been awesome to put a couple more on the ice. But that camera checking off that goal, dude.
Yeah.
That camera
Big one
is so dope.
Hell yeah, dude.
I have the hands-free like panner too now.
Oh, you did get it?
Yes.
Hell yeah. This is all housekeeping, by the way, Tim. You're good. You're good.
Yeah,
because
so
this is
I'm
going to
just
lead into the fishing topic. This is housekeeping shit.
You know, turning it back and forth here. And it was so sick. The guy that was with me fishes a lot. It was me, my wife, and then a new friend. And I don't know. I'm not going to say his name because I don't know. He doesn't know this exists or whatever. I didn't tell him I had a podcast. It feels weird bringing that up. Just be like, "Hey, fellow fishermen, do you know I have a podcast?"
You know,
just like if it comes up naturally, we'll throw it out there. But
for sure.
But he was with us, and he was like, "That is so cool. Like, I think I might have to get one of those." And I was like,
"Nice.
I'm glad to see you're excited about it because I am so happy about this camera."
Hell yeah, man. Awesome. Well, okay. We're going to go ahead and, the curtain's been cut back on production or whatever. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into the fishing news and the fishing topic right now, where we're going to talk about the latest fishing news. I'm not even going to say it right now. Just listen. And we're going to get into ice fishing with Tou, who is our first fishing guest. So
yeah,
here it is. Getting into the fishing topic. Then we're going to get into the random take. Sports.
Stay tuned.
All right, let's hit him with the fishing news. But before we do that, we have our first fishing guest, Tou Xiong. Did I say that right, Tou?
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
Tou Xiong.
Nice.
Tou Xiong, thank you for coming on the podcast with us and talking fishing. We are going to talk about ice fishing. And speaking of ice fishing, we're going to hit him with the fishing news right away with the yellow crappie that was caught in Minnesota. Yeah. You guys been seeing this thing? It's all seriously.
It's all over everywhere.
Right. Isn't it the viral fishing moment?
Everywhere I go out fishing, everybody talks about that golden crappie.
Dude, yeah, I thought I had something here. I'm trying to like show Josh. I'm showing my wife. Like, everybody I show it is just like, yeah, totally saw that. And I'm like, am I the last person that saw it or what?
How is the fisherman?
All my fishing groups I'm in, they're like, all my fishing groups, they're like, man, if I caught that, I'm gonna mount it on the wall.
right.
Yeah. Do you guys know what he did with it?
I'm not sure what he did with it.
No,
haven't followed the story fully, but I've seen it posted up on Facebook, on social media, everywhere, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have no idea either. And I look at that guy and I feel like I know him, but like not. So like, if I figure out who it is, for sure, I'm calling them up and being like, what did you do with it? Like, where is it? Like, is it back in the lake? I'm going to fish that lake. Like,
I'm going to hit that lake every day.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, you know that I do the research on this. So I ended up finding it on what we call down here in the Twin Cities area, Channel 5, KSTP. Yeah. They were the ones that I actually found it on. And so Channel 5, they had this whole segment, like they
they wrote it too, right? They wrote an article. So if you'll follow the link, it's going to be in the description of the YouTube video over there on the YouTubes. If you look us up, Real AF TV, Real like Fish and Real. Channel 5 KSTP has a link. Rick, Tim, this is funny that you say that because we grew up in this area. So it's Rick Konkauswitz.
I don't know that last name.
Dude, that Eastern European, it seems like a Polish last name. I don't know that it is, but like, come
there's
on.
a good chance. Yeah, there's a good chance that he's
I would have slaughtered the last name and I wouldn't even try.
But those are the sort of names that we went to high school with.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of Polish people.
Yeah. Konkauswitz. So Rick Konkauswitz, you could probably find him pretty easy, Tim, and hit him up. He caught it on Clear Lake, which is a lake a little bit north, I believe, of New Ulm. It's in the New Ulm area.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's where he found this thing. It was so crazy to watch the video because Rick goes, oh, I thought it was like a sunfish or something. And then pulled it out.
Yeah.
And you guys saw the photos, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, Tou, did you see the one how he was like, he's basically holding it up in this ice house with a really nice wooden background and fridge.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. You saw that? Did you see that his thumb was all the way in the mouth?
Yeah. He was really thumbing it in the mouth.
Yeah. Which right away tells you like, oh, that thing's a crappie. Like you see the color and you think, what the hell is that thing? But he had his whole thumb in there, like a grown ass man. Full thumb inside this fish. Like there's no mistaking it's a crappie, right?
Yeah.
No. Especially
for sure.
Especially like with a lot of fishermen, just by seeing the form or like, the way how it's fin, dorsal fin and stuff, you can just tell right away it's a crappie.
Yeah, for sure. It just looks like a Photoshop crappie. You're like, that's a crappie, but why is it a goldfish too?
Right. Yeah, no, that's exactly the same thing that I thought is just like, it's photoshopped, right? Come on.
Could you imagine losing it in the hole though? Your whole life, right? You'd be telling everybody else, like, I swear to God, it was gold. And they're like, bullshit. You did not catch
Nobody wouldn't believe it unless you got a picture or video.
Right.
Yeah, for real. They'd be like, you just caught a goldfish. You caught a carp. Who gives a shit, dude? No big deal. Yep.
Somebody released their goldfish and they grew.
Yeah. It was a crappie. I swear to God. Whatever, Rick.
It's so funny. So KSTP, well, I'm just going to call him Channel 5. It's easier for me. So Channel 5, they did an interview, and him and his wife, they're from, which is funny because of the name. It's Hanska. I'm pretty sure that was the name of the town that they're from, Hanska. And they're down in that New Ulm area. I looked it up, and like if somebody was from Hanska, they would be fishing Clear Lake for sure.
Okay.
So yeah, but I bring that up to say that, yep, they did an interview with him and his wife. Of course they did. And then they do what news people do. And they're just like, well, yeah, but we got to go talk to other people about this, right? Like we can't just say like, yeah, this guy caught a golden crappie. He could Photoshop that. They got a doctor from the University of Minnesota.
Wow.
Yeah. He was a doctor in fishing. Like,
and kind of like biology.
Yeah.
Yeah. With a focus on fishing is basically what they said. And that guy was just like, yeah, it's like albino, except for like the opposite.
Pigmentation.
Yeah. It's like albinoism. It's just it's like a similar mutation.
Yeah.
And they talked to the DNR too. They went and talked to the DNR. And this is where you guys, as being actual like full on fishermen in comparison to myself, the DNR was just like, yeah, how does anything get that big without being caught by a predator?
Like,
you can't hide anywhere. You're you're a red flag anywhere you go, being that color, and
even
murky water.
Yeah, don't use gold colored lures on that lake if you're trying to catch something, because the predators don't eat
it. There you go. You're trying to catch a monster, don't use gold color.
Right.
Clear Lake in near New Ulm. Gold doesn't work.
Nope.
Yep.
Proven fact. Living species.
Right. Yeah, it was so weird because like basically the two experts were just like, it's super rare and really crazy weird that this guy was able to catch us, that this fish was able to get that big. And in my head, I'm going, yeah, I mean, that's just a chartreuse jig bait. Like, what the hell? It was crazy. But anyway,
well, if there's one, there's got to be more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think someplace. Can't be the only one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, one more thing, I guess, before we move on to ice fishing, which is actually the topic that we're going to be talking about, is which is, by the way, that's why we brought Tou on. Tou's done a lot more ice fishing than me and Tim. So, hey,
Yes.
perfect. Here we go.
Probably over 10 years.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Love to hear that.
Yep.
So Rick also, he was totally your Minnesota fisherman. Like, he's like your uncle. He was in the interview. He's just like, yeah, I don't know. I was just jigging a glow devil and here it came. It was just the best. It's like, and I'm just like, yeah, dude, he was jigging a glow devil. He was so casual about it, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what the hell that means? Fisherman.
I mean,
Only
to catch a
fisherman.
fish like that, how can you be so casual, so calm about it? I'll be, skyrocketed explaining every little detail about how I caught that fish, how long I sat there, how.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah. It just was so good. I just loved the way he was just so casual about it. And it was seriously like just talking to your uncle about his fishing story.
Yeah.
Except for this guy's going viral.
I mean, what else are you going to say? Because I'm sure they asked it in a weird way. How did you catch this goldfish? Well, like how I caught all the other ones, but then this one was gold. I didn't target it,
Right. I wasn't just out there going like, I'm gonna catch a gold crappie today. Oh, that's great. But this is the perfect conversation to get into ice fishing because obviously he was ice fishing. I mean, right now it's the middle of February and there's no getting around that. It's cold as shit outside.
And a killer looking, like you said, hard-sided, like the wheelhouse. That thing looked crazy. He was sitting in the living room. That was a nice looking house.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. I was like, damn, dude, did you bring that thing home? And then I started like actually focusing on the background. I'm like, oh yeah, he's just got one of those dope ice houses.
Right. Yeah. He probably wasn't even trying. You said he was jigging, but the real story could have just been like, oh, I had a rattle reel, tied up.
And most of the time, that's what we do in the ice house.
Yeah,
have a rattle reel and just set it on there and just have a couple cold one, and
there you go.
Rattles.
Yep. He's trying to keep it like PC for the news. He's just like, well, we were tying one on, and the wheels started rattling.
He started ripping line, and we just had, we had a big one on.
You guys just made for the perfect easy transition for me because you said things like rattle reel and I'm like, what? Which is totally the thing. And I was telling this, Tim, before we got on, I was just trying to explain a little. It was just like, hey, I've been around fishing my whole life. Like the listeners of the podcast know, if you've been following us since the beginning, you know that like the whole thing is, I don't really know what I'm doing. And Tim has been fishing a lot more, but he's super open to learning. Like Tim, you never come off as an expert.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, I hope in some parts.
I totally said that wrong.
But
you never come off as arrogantly expert about something. Like you're always open to input.
Oh yeah. There's always more to learn. And for sure about ice fishing. I bought
just fishing in general, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But like for ice fishing, for me, like I bought all my stuff to start ice fishing last year. Before then, it was only I had like a couple of rods and reels, and I just went with people when I was invited. I didn't have any of my own gear. So last year was the first time I got everything ready. And this year I've went one time so far. It's been a crazy amount of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I'm super green when it comes to ice fishing. So I got a lot to learn.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's lots to learn.
There always is a lot to learn, right? When it comes to fishing in general, which is where I was kind of going with this whole thing, is that like, I definitely don't know. I've been out on the ice maybe 3 times in my entire life, but it's been one of those situations where I have been told what to do, so I don't actually know what to do. Tim's been doing a lot of research, and now Tou, we wanted to bring you on, and you're just like, yeah, I don't know. I've been doing this for like 10 years. You said it so casually.
Yeah.
I guess because I've been doing it for 10 years, but I haven't caught a golden crappie, you know?
Right. See, there's always more to learn. We got to figure it out. We got to talk to that guy.
I still got to figure out how I'm going to catch a golden crappie, you know?
So what even, I just even want to get into that part of it, because that's what we're trying to do here, is just like teach people like me who are maybe older and have kids now, and now we want to teach our kids and stuff like that. It's like that's our goal audience in a way. So what was it called, even the rattle what that you guys were talking about?
A rattle reel.
What does that even mean?
So basically means that you have a reel spun with some line, and you just have it set to a wall. And you just drop your lure in there. It has kind of like a break, I guess you could say like a braking or a brake system where it clicks. And there's like bells inside the rattle where if the fish takes their line and starts taking out line, then the bell starts rattling and jiggling. So
it's literally like it almost looks like a kid's plaything. Like it's like jingle bells inside of like this big like wooden reel, and there's no rod or nothing. It's just mounted to the wall.
It just mounts to the wall, and basically you're gonna have to do a hand and reel in the line, the fish in.
Oh,
so you're not actually holding the reel or the rod, and you're not actually reeling in the reel at all. You're hand. Yep.
Because it's some line.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It's real popular, like with people that have the hard side of houses, like if they're staying out there at night or whatever.
Yep.
Because then they can put the rattle reel down, tie on something, like be like, oh, I'm gonna go to sleep, and then all of a sudden you hear jingling, ling, ling.
Yep.
Hop out of bed, land that fish.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude. Ice fishing got way more hardcore than I ever thought it was, just right now in this moment for me. Holy shit, dude. That's crazy. I had no idea. Like, why not stay out there? It's warm.
Yeah. You're cozy in your little house, and you know.
Yeah, you got a nice house. You can stay. My brother-in-law's got a nice house. So we stayed out. Like they use it for camping in the summertime, man. It's basically a camper.
Sure.
Even my brother on them, they use it for hunting instead of going out there and set up tents and stuff. Right. They go out there and go into like campgrounds and back into it, plug in all the electricals, and
then just
have all the gear
off the back. The campgrounds are the hunting grounds.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice.
Damn.
Yeah. Very
so
cool.
I mean, it's not just used for ice fishing. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
It's really versatile to any outdoor sports.
Sure.
For sure. I never even thought about using it for hunting. That's awesome.
Yeah. Really good. Really good point. So I want to talk about one thing, Tim. I'm going to let you get into, I want you to get into all your questions to ask a 10-year vet, because you're, more, I'm sure you have better questions than I do.
Share as much as you guys want to know.
Nice. Good.
The weather, because one of the biggest things that the Real AF TV podcast has been talking about, and like when we go on social media and stuff like that, is always the weather, because we all know, like the three of us are just like, well, yeah, I mean, everything the fish do depends on the weather, almost everything, right?
Oh yeah.
Depends on the weather when it comes to the fish. So it's fucking frozen and cold. Does the weather have anything to do with ice fishing?
In the winter, it does, because of the low pressure or high pressure changes.
Oh,
So that plays a factor into the water. Even though it's frozen, it still has that water pressure below the ice.
Yeah.
So it's
Because
always
the air pressure,
low pressure, high pressure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the air pressure still pushes on the ice no matter what. Shit, man.
No matter what. And plus, with the water frozen, they're very limited on oxygen below the ice.
Oh yeah.
Oh yep.
Yeah.
So it plays. That's why in the winter, the fish are more I can't even speak
lethargic.
Right now. Lethargic.
I don't know how the hell I just said that. I'll be honest with you too. I don't even know.
They're more lethargic, and they're more slow, and they're not as active or as aggressive to really hit bite your lures, unless it's the perfect timing of the day where they're on a feeding frenzy or they're just hungry.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's I was thinking. I haven't got out there to test a lot of it, but I always kind of figured the same would go as like in summer and stuff. That's why I want to try to go ice fishing. But I was like, there's a cold front. We're about to, like tomorrow might be shitty fishing, but it's not going to stop me. I'm just like, I just wish it was different.
Yeah.
And that's always how it is. Fishing for like 10 plus years, open water or hard water, all that pressure changes or all that cold front, plays a big factor, because it will determine how you're going to break down the lake or how the fish is going to shift, and you got to read that, how to find the fish movement.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good way to transition into, just asking like, how do you start, breaking down a lake? Do you fish a lot of new water, or are you fishing mainly
I fish a lot of new waters lately, because a lot of the places I fish is like, I fished it, I know exactly where, I know how the fish shift or move throughout the season.
Sure.
So it's like I always want to learn new water, and those new waters are usually hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours outside of Twin Cities now.
Mm-hmm. Oh dang!
Within the hour and a half of Twin Cities, a lot of the bigger lakes here, we've done a lot of like local bass tournaments, fishing on lakes. We've done a lot of ice fishing, a lot of local fishing where we've broken down a lot of the lakes, and it's
nice.
You have a roster of 25 teams. Who's going, depending on the lake, if it's a shallow bite lake or a deep bite lake, who's going to be top 5, or, you already kind of, you can already know, okay, if I go to this lake and this is my style of fishing, I'm going to be like in the top 5. So I'm going to be in the money. So I'm going to go for sure,
Right.
You already know the playing field already. So.
Yeah.
Right. And how would someone like me who doesn't really know what they're doing even start to break down a lake when it's frozen? Like, do you have?
So when it's frozen, there's apps out there like Navionics or contour maps where you kind of base it off, and most of the time it's not going to be exactly the right depth because of water level changes throughout the year, depending on if it's a more rainier season or not. But most of those contour maps are really helpful to kind of help where your shallow points are, where your basins are, where your ledges will be, where your points will be, or your humps. A lot of fishers will travel along like ledges, or like in the winter, they don't want to work so hard, so they'll just settle into a deeper basin, which is like a big flat deep hole where they could just kind of sit and roam or cruise through.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay. That was
a lot of fish. Yeah. So and a lot of fish, they like there's something called a climax where the fish will never go deeper than the climax. Typically what I found is usually about like 20-25 feet is the comfortability where most of the species of fish I chase. They will never go any deeper. unless the lake is a really deep lake and they're comfortable going deeper than 20, 25 feet. It's just because of water pressure, because of oxygen, because of their food source. So that's where they're they find the right temperature, the right pressure for them to be, just chill and just be at a right state.
Sure. Yeah. And when, like, do you, in the wintertime, are you mainly targeting walleye or crappie, or you kind of go for whatever?
I mainly go for crappies.
Okay.
I have a group of friends who, we try to do like a few trips up north, chasing for Cisco or Tullaby. And then we chase walleyes here and there as well. A lot of places where we target is mostly points. And a trick to ice fishing is in the fall, after all the weeds died out from the summer.
Yeah.
I usually get out there with the boat and scan to find like structure like rocks, rock piles, or humps, stuff like that, so that because rock and structure that holds heat, so the fish is going to be congregate around there. Shit. And it's going to be a food source where fish is going to want to be circulating into,
because of the heat that comes off of
the heat, and because
the rocks, the structure
will help. The rocks will hold like the rocks will hold like all these bugs, or bugs and stuff like where they'll feed off of throughout the winter.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it kind of works throughout the food chain, where it holds the rocks will hold the bugs, or like dead deep weed lines will hold the bugs, and then the minnows or the bait fish will come and congregate around there to eat it, and the bigger predator fish will come and eat them.
Right.
So,
sure.
Yeah. That was one of the other questions I had, was like lake maps and stuff like that, because we haven't done a full podcast on it, and we will. But Tim, you talk about lake maps and stuff a lot during the summertime, right? So like, am I making the associations here kind of where like the lake maps kind of help in the winter time?
No, more than kind of, man.
Really
that's what that Navionics app that he was talking about, those are lake maps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's an app. I think it's like a yearly subscription. It's like $9.99. I could be wrong. It's been so long since I had.
I just did it, and it was like $21, and I don't even know what I paid for. Like I was just trying to I wanted the better contours, like the closer, like because when you pay, you can get it for like free, but
features.
Yes. So it's like there's less going on in there, and then I paid for a more expensive one to have all this stuff, and I don't even know.
You pay for the more expensive one, then you're able to save like a lot of your waypoints or a lot of spots. Also, the more expensive ones, if people save their spots and they open it up to any users, you can see their spots and they'll mark it out as fish here, or some lakes here they have like fish cribs, so like they'll mark down fish crib here on certain waypoints.
Okay,
they'll have like little markers on the map and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, I should really look into what I got, because I don't know for how long. I was just like, I need this to be better. The map was just like the contours were like every 5 feet, and I'm just like, how do I get it better? And they're like, you want to pay for it? And I just said yes. I didn't even look into it. I'm just like, give me the good maps.
Yeah, a lot of my friends, or a lot of fishermen, ice fishermen now too, they switched over from using avionics, and they actually just have a whole like actual fish finding unit, like helix lines or stuff, because they can just detach that head mount and mount it right back on their boat, so they don't have to have 2 units.
Right.
They can transfer that same unit back and forth, and it'll still show all the contour maps. It shows all their waypoints from open water to ice fishing water and stuff too. So
So Tim, I think you've talked about those a little bit, of the of what Tou was just talking about. I think you've talked about a little bit of those before. So for people like me who don't fully understand exactly what's going on, is like, this is
Well, there's
Can
like
you explain it just a little bit for me?
so you
please?
so you have your unit that you have on your boat. So there's like the
It's like
depth
the fish
finder.
finder, depth finder.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. So it's like a depth finder GPS combo is what he would be talking about, because you're probably not just going to grab your depth finder unless you have a ice transducer hookup to it or whatever. But
Yep.
when you have the battery power, you'd have to have some sort of a battery to hook it up. A little ice fishing battery would work, and you can use the GPS off of that. It works just like the Navionics app on your phone, except for your setup with that. And then you, depending on your unit, a lot of people do have it where they can use it as a depth finder too. I ended up just going strictly Navionics app because the Lowrance unit that I have is down imaging only, I guess.
Okay.
And that doesn't allow you to use an ice transducer.
Okay.
Which was something I didn't look into when I bought it. So I'm like, damn it. I didn't.
Yeah, and I like especially with like the new technology now, especially like Garmin's new live scope and stuff like that. Man, it's
I actually know
it's
that.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
The technology with how the sonar system works and just the mapping and everything. They even have like Helix and Garmin and all this stuff, or Navionics too. They have like options where you can even map up your own map on a lake. That way you get accurate depth reading too as well. Yeah. Because even though the app already says it's 10 feet, because the water level changes yearly, you can even say, "Hey, I don't even want to go based off that map. I want to track and measure my own map and rebuild a map over that map."
Really?
It's like taking the data that the transducer's telling it like in real time and like writing the map for you as you drive around the lake.
Yep.
No kidding.
Yeah, people use them. They come in super handy when you're fishing those like way up north Minnesota or like Canada lakes that nobody else is on. So you're just driving around like finding, there's no lake map for it because you're one of the only people that's ever been there.
Yep.
That's a really good point. So I don't want to step on anymore because maps and stuff like that was one of my big questions, and you guys have covered it more. And honestly, we could just make a full hour out of that. But Tim, I feel like I'm stepping on your chance because I know that you had notes and stuff.
Oh no, man.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'll say one last thing about maps. Maps for sure. Please. It's a big must. It'll show you contours. And for me, I like to fish points and humps and ledges.
Okay.
So those are the main key how I break down lakes. I'll target those spots first, and then I'll move away from there. And if I go to a lake and I break it down between those three spots, I will determine then why are the fish are there, and I'll like find bait fish, or is it a place where bait fish hangs out, or is it like because of structure like rock or deep weed line, stuff like that. So that's how you break down lakes.
Okay.
Even when the ice is on.
Even with the ice on, or like in the fall, springs, open water. Because you want to do a lot of the lake, a lot of the breaking down lake while you could be on the boat, so you can go scan, crisscross, and scan your spots. Then you mark your waypoints, and then that way you know that you have a waypoint on a rock pile or a deep weed line. When you're ice fishing, you come back to those waypoints and fish those fish that's gonna make the transition to those spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So when you're talking, like you fish humps and stuff.
Yep.
Is there a time of year that you decide to try humps, or is it just is there a spot that you start, and
typically I usually
I was just gonna say, do you choose that spot based off of the time of year, or do you is there a certain way that you always just kind of start?
I usually starts off a point in ledges.
Okay.
Humps and secondary points are usually kind of like my secondary places to go.
Okay.
Because it's always a hit and miss, because the fish, they have to travel so far or they have to travel to come to that hump.
Right.
So
okay.
So it's like if the bait fish shifts through open water to that hump, then the predator fish is gonna move with it. If the bait fish stays within the weed lines or with the rock piles along along the ledge or something or a point, then it's you're not gonna find the more schooled up fish on those humps.
Okay. Makes sense. And for those of you that don't know, Josh, if you're not quite sure, like the hump is like off kind of away from everything. It's literally just like something that rises up from the basin, and the basin is like the deeper part. So all of a sudden you have like just little mound of structure in the middle of nowhere almost.
Yeah. So like, let's say you're in like a 30-foot flat and it's like 100-yard by 100-yard flat, but off into a corner, you have like a 8-foot hump where it comes up to be 8-foot little hill from the deep basin. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a structure.
Okay. Yeah. So like what he was talking about, the fish have to move. Like if they're on those ledges and those points, they have to kind of like travel across that basin to get to this hump. How they even know that hump exists is always mind-boggling to me. Where they're just like,
yep.
You guys hear about that lump out there?
Like, how do all these crappies actually know? Like, hey, that hump out there, it's a good spot,
right?
Right. Yeah.
Or like, hey, it's this time of the year we got to go into the deep basin to hang out,
right.
Chillax, we got to relax for a bit,
Yeah. Did you guys? What's the date? Did you say it's February? Oh, let's move out.
Right?
oh, that hump is always popping this time of year. We gotta go. I actually thank you for bringing that up, because you guys are talking about it so casually, and I'm like, the hump. It's like it must be a part that comes off of, like, it must be something that juts out into, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was thinking of it as like. Almost like a ledge, but not a gradual. It's kind of like
a hill
in a way.
A hill,
but it's not.
It's a hill in the valley.
Yeah, it's like a volcano.
Yeah,
it's like kind of comes up on outside, and it's not shaped like that all the time. It could be shaped way differently. But like what you were talking about, Josh, where you're talking about like something that comes out. That's a point.
That's a point.
That's a point.
And then there's main lake points. There's secondary points. So. There's, those secondary points and humps are always like second options for me. But so the main lake point is a main big point that comes off of like from the shore that stretches all the way out.
Okay. So what are the questions that I have to ask? And I don't know, Tim, if you were going to ask this one or not, but one of the things is like, so there are like permanents. We've sort of talked about permanents with the gold, right? It's like, there are permanents where you just wheel that sumbitch out there and you set it down and you go, whatever, here it is. Now, those people must have done some sort of research or something.
Oh, yeah.
Or are they just congregating because like the first guy set down his ice house there, so I'm going to set down my ice house 10 feet away. Like
when I first started ice fishing, that's how I feel. I'm like, why is there a little village of permanent house here? Like, did they just decide to hang out?
They must know where the good fish are, right?
Exactly. If they're congregated here, the fish must be here, right? But yes, that is a good point. Ice fishing, that if at all fails, that's where I usually go. Like I just go hit the community holes where there's all these wheelhouse or these permanent house where there's a reason why they're set there, because there's either fish coming through, it's just timing of the day, or
Sure.
Yeah, they're still fish.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. That's what I was wondering. Like, kind of based off of like my assumptions of what I've been finding, it seems like, like a permanent, like a wheelhouse, you kind of set up for those peak fishing times. Right? Like you want to be there in the, have it in the low light conditions. And then, during the day, hopefully it's not too shitty. And then like, if they're not underneath you, you can kind of like go out and try to venture around. And then hopefully come those peak fishing times, you're on the right spot.
Come settle down. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of times those permanent are usually like more local residential people who's around the area.
Like they have a house in the town that the lake is in.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Cause I'm not going to haul my ice house here all the way to New Ulm and set my ice house on Cedar and go out there and go out there and once a week, that's quite a drive. And I want to go out there regularly to make sure, because in the past, I've heard many stories about those permanent ice stalls getting break into too. So
Oh yeah.
Oh, sure.
So you don't want to leave it too far where you're not going to be having a regular checkup on it.
Right.
Right.
And when you have a permanent like that, you probably keep going back to the same spot just no matter what, because you've had enough success because you're going there every other day, or you're going there every third day, or every single day, and there's just enough success by going there for that amount of time that you just go, whatever, I'll set it here, right?
Yep. And then they, throughout those 1-2 times or 3-4 times, they tell in the morning, in the afternoon, and evening, and they say, okay, I have better luck in the morning. It's a morning bite. Or hey, I have better luck in the evening. It's a night bite. Then they come out during that time only. They don't, they leave it set there all day.
Right. Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But then that goes to like how I said, I'm not gonna haul my ice house and sit out there. I'll bring my portable and pop up my portable ice house and sit out there for the evening bite or whatever.
Right.
Break it down and come back home.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
And follow maps, right? Like, I mean, like you kind of just talked about, it's just like, hey, I'll go to a lake and almost fish it like summertime, but you have to reread it, right? Because the ice is frozen and the basins and the points and all the stuff
and with the water frozen, you're having like 18 to 20 inches of ice, so that's about 1.5 feet of water depth that you have to adjust to as well.
Right. Good point.
Yep.
So
Yep. Mm-hmm. So since you're a crappie fisherman, do you go out there and just start drilling holes like mad?
Just mad. Depends on the time of the season. Like early ice, the transition is always from the crappies are within the weed or the weed lines, and in the early ice, they usually slowly transition coming out. So I'll still be fishing the weed line and off the weed line a little bit, and then as winter progresses, like midwinter, they'll be out in the deep basin just schooled up. And this plays a fact. Depending on the lake too, it plays a factor on, if the crappies are going to school up and be in the deep basin or not. But majority of the lake, they'll school up and they'll be in the deep basin for the winter. And then as winter turns over and start going into spring, then they'll start transitioning, moving more from the deeper towards their normal, weed line or shallow area where they're going to be bedding for the spring or spawning time. So
sure. Yeah. So when they're out in that deep basin, you were talking about, you find a lot of fish in that same, water.
Yep.
The comfort
the water
zone.
Column. Yep. The climax where they can go deeper.
Yeah. So are you finding them like suspending then in that,
suspended in schools. Yep.
Okay.
So if like I'm over like a 50-60 foot hole and they're down like 20 feet, 25 feet, if you'll find them suspended in schools.
Okay.
So Tim, is that Tim, let me ask that question different from somebody who's like totally lost, not totally lost, but pretty lost. Is what you're talking about, Tim, is like you're going into this basin, like Tou said, 50, 60 feet or whatever, you find them in 20 feet. So is what you're saying is you go over this basin and then you start fishing different depths to try to find the school?
Well, so you would have if you're doing it without electronics, like good luck. But you would
electronics are like your eyes under the ice.
Yeah.
Or literally can be, because you can put a camera under the ice, but I digress. Yeah. Keep going, Tim. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. So basically what he's saying is like, he's finding, the deepest part of the lake for the most part. And then they're suspending in 20 feet. And once you put that transducer from your flasher down or whatever you have,
your marks.
Yeah. So you'll find the marks. You'll see the lines where fish are. Cause I'm here, the bottom's at 60 and there's a yellow line like 25 feet down. You're like, all right, there's fish.
That's gotta be a fish.
Oh.
And then once you find a school, you'll not just see one line, but you'll see 4, 5, 6, 7 lines staggered together.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. Like when you guys break it down like that, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
It'd be more easier to visualize if there's an actual video or like a sonar that we can actually display for you. You know,
right. That was a good description. You guys did a great job.
Yeah. And so I've been hearing a lot. I don't know. Are you out there for numbers? Like what I've heard from these fishermen that are like strictly catch and release out there. I listen to, Jason Mitchell Outdoors podcasts, and I'm out there, researching and listening to everybody all over the place. And I've been hearing this common thing of if you're trying to catch the biggest fish a little bit above the school, and the bigger fish seem to want to come up because
they'll be the more aggressive.
It made sense to me. Like that was kind of new knowledge where I never thought about it before, but they're like the big fish are braver and not as scared to break away from the school. And I'm like, that makes 100%.
Because if you're roaming with the same school, like let's say you're catching crappies that are 8-9 inches, right? And you have this, there's 12-inch guy. He's the big boss. He's not going to be afraid. He's going to step up and come up.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Because I this is a little bit off topic, but I remember like being back in school when every time you got like a Saturday night and everybody's like, oh, let's go out to the cemetery. It's creepy or whatever. And then they go out there and everybody's sitting there. And after a while, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. They said that they're like, there's like a shiny thing out there and they're like, it's a ghost. And I'm like, we're about to figure out what this
is. Let's go.
I'm the guy that breaks off from the pack, and I'm walking out there, and I'm like the biggest one of the group, and I'm like, hey, that totally makes sense. I was the one that's like, fuck this, I'm gonna see what that thing is.
Yeah, for sure. That's why like the tiny like 5'4" guy that I am, or whatever the hell my height is, teamed up with the 6'2" guy and was like, I don't know, I'll just walk behind him.
Right?
That explains a lot, Tim. Jesus. Way to make this weird. Just kidding. Guys, I got a Bush Latte here, a limited edition snow day.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Look at that.
Has ice fishing on it.
Even has ice fishing on it. Yeah.
Even has ice fishing on it. Look at that.
Nice.
Literally just for this topic. Had to break the weirdness up. No, I'm kidding. Totally, it's all joke. It's we're part entertainment too. We're not just the education part. If you're not
nobody knows how tall you right? Nobody knows how tall you are from right here, Josh. Just don't even say
we're
it.
all
Which is also funny.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. We're all the same height.
We're all the same height right now. But yeah, anyways, Tim, did you have more stuff that you wanted to ask too?
I did, but I was kind of hopping around, so I kind of forgot. Oh, so, do you fish tip ups when you're
occasionally I do.
I had that same question. Thank you.
Depending on sometimes depending on how I feel, but majority of the times I'm usually like out chasing fish, hole hopping, just drilling holes and just kind of keep going. A lot of times if I'm like tip up fishing, I just basically going out there to catch a buzz. Set it up and just have just pop the case and just go at it.
Yeah, nice. That's what I always thought. Like that's what
usually when we do that, then we'll bring out like a little small grill and just kind of have a little hot dog barbecue.
Yeah, I mean that's what it almost seems like. That's what I was thinking. Like when when my son gets older, he's 3.5 right now, but when he gets older, I was like, him and his friends, if we all want to go tip up fishing, like you can play catch with a football, and like you said, that's a great idea to bring like a little grill, and you're just having like a little get together on the ice and just watching. All of a sudden a flag pops up and shit,
and you just want to call who wants to pull this fish up.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point that I didn't even consider, even though I have once or twice in my life fished tip ups. It was always the Arctic reason. Oh, we're fishing tip ups today. That wind is way too fucking strong. It's like negative 30 degrees with the wind out.
We'll just sit in. We're gonna go hide, and we'll wait until that.
Actually, flag pops. I stay away from those days on tip ups because all that wind blowing or that coldness is just gonna freeze over the hole, and your tip up's just gonna be so hard to pull out.
Yeah,
Sure.
no, that's a really good point. That's
Yeah.
Yep. So I usually do like a nice hot day where you can just be outside and keep an eye on the flags and have a great visual all across all your flags.
I've seen guys, I don't know if they had like the whole insulators or whatever, but I've seen guys where they drive out in their truck and they'll set like a couple of tip ups in front of the truck and then they'll just go back in the truck. And they'll just sit in the like running truck.
That's what we did when one time I fished.
That's how you did it.
It's exactly the same thing you're talking about. Yeah, we just wait trucks out to holes and then run.
Yeah, there's I've seen many people done this too, where they use like they put a coal into like a coffee tin, and they sit it inside the hole, and it's a small coffee tin, like aluminum coffee tin or like aluminum can.
Yeah,
they put a hot charcoal in there. They put it in a hole.
Oh shit!
And then heat keeps the hole unfrozen.
Oh, okay.
That is the craziest way I've ever heard of keeping an ice hole open.
That's crazy.
How efficient
on like cold days, and then they build like these custom boxes to go over it, and then the flag would be outside the box.
Okay, now.
Oh, I get you. Yeah. So it
kind of creates like a little house or a little structure to cover the hole.
Yeah,
keep the coal inside there. Yep.
Nice. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I've seen where I don't know if they make it like away from the flasher like unit themselves, but I've seen like. I don't know who made it, but they have like a little bubbler.
Yeah, I've seen that too, where it keeps the water movement. Yeah.
Yep.
So then it keeps the water from freezing over.
Yep. It's like the same idea as like a river, because the rivers, it's super cold outside and you still see open water in the rivers.
So like the flasher, you have to it's dropping a fish finder down a hole for
it's dropping the transducer that sends down the sonar.
Yeah. So just cutting it down to like the most simplest, explanation. You drop a fish finder down the ice hole, and then there's like a bobber with a bubbler on it. Tim, is that what you're saying?
Kind of. Yeah. Like what?
Yeah.
Like they have, it's like a foam sleeve that goes over the cord.
Yeah. It's kind of like, those, it's kind of like where you have like a fish tank where it has those bubble fizzers.
Yeah.
To create oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah. So, and like you said, a bobber. Yeah. It's like an oversized bobber. It's like just a foam thing that floats it there. It's the same thing with the transducer.
Within your hole. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the same thing with a lot of the transducers. There's like a foam thing that sits on your cord, and then you can just drop it in there and it'll float.
Huh.
Yeah. It depends on what kind of flasher unit you have. Like mine has a little arm with like a rubber stop.
Yep.
So it depends on,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
gotta.
And there, just talking about tip up too. There's, I haven't done it myself, but I know plenty of friends who's done like dark house spearfishing where they pop a bigger hole out there. They cut out a chunk of hole and just spear the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually just did not too long ago we did a ice house episode. Like I just did a bunch of research and we just kind of talked about it. And so I'm glad you brought it up, because now I'll just ask you and see if you know. It seemed like there were a few brands, I won't name them right now, it doesn't matter, it's not important, but like it was possible to turn the ice house into a dark house because it had like a zipper over the window or something like that. Like the window was able to be
window had a flap
opaque
cover
and translucent at the same time, just depending on how you zipped it up.
Well, a lot of the ice house now, like the Papa ones, they have flaps where it holds by Velcro, so you can just open kind of like, it's kind of like a window shade.
Yeah.
You just undo it and they'll bring in light. You cover it up, it'll be all dark.
So you could use it for both. Like, right?
So it'll be versatile for both. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I can't remember if I brought this up. I don't think I did when we were talking about my pop-up, but I have a pop-up house and I have the blackout covers that go over this. So here's a little new revelation for you too. And I don't know if I brought it up on that one. It's a house made by Frable.
Mhm.
and I don't have windows. And I was like, what the hell is this all about? I thought like, well, I guess shame on me. I should have looked into this. There's holes, but there's no actual window, but it has the blackout panels that go over it. So I'm like, I guess it's either open or have blackout panels. Well,
So you don't even have like the clear window.
No. So recently,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I
So
thought you were
recently,
saying.
yeah. So
Yeah.
recently I figured out, at first I was like, shame on me. I think it's stupid, but I guess that's what I get. Recently, I figured out that that's not how it's supposed to be at all. That one's supposed to have windows. And Frable has the worst customer service ever. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Have you had to deal with them before?
I had 2 ice sauce that I had to call on. And I just stopped. I usually go with clam or otter now. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Dude, I don't know. That's
Funny.
what I've been thinking about, because I'm not kidding you. Like, I'll put them on blast here, because Frabo, come on, because they're also Plano. It's the same phone number.
Yeah.
And I have sent multiple emails. There's the phone number where you're supposed to like get where it says, oh, you leave your number here and then we'll call you back. You won't lose your spot in line. Never got a call back from that. And then one day, because I'm a delivery driver, I called the number and I'm just like, I'll just sit here as long as it takes.
Right.
And I listened to hold flute music for like 3 hours, and then the call just disconnected.
What?
I was so pissed, because 3 hours of flute music interrupted by like every 10 minutes of them being like, you can do this and we'll call you back, or hang on the line and we'll be with you in a moment.
Sure,
and every time they said it, I'm just like, now you're lying to my face over and over every minute for 3 hours. And then they hung up, and I'm just like, I am about to murder somebody.
Oh, I didn't know that they were Plano also. So like that to me is just crazy to think about the through line of that, because Plano's huge when it comes to storage and everything. Like, you know, whether it be for firearms or fish, like it's just crazy.
Yeah. So both of
Tou, are you taking a whiz?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I was like.
6 beers already.
That's staying in. It's going in the podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wasn't even sure what it was. I was just about to be like, I think he's like pouring a pitcher. I don't know what he's got. This is definitely liquid. At
first, I thought he was taking I thought he was just pouring a beer, and then I'm like, wait a second.
No, I'm working on some more beer.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, you know, for the ice fishing topic, I mean, we're coming up on an hour already, so I don't want to drag this on too long. I just want to make sure that Tim, you got in the questions that you wanted to get in before we wrap this topic, because I got to say, you basically covered. We got it covered, all the stuff that I had written down right now. Obviously, there's way more to this, and almost every question could have turned into a podcast by itself.
Yeah,
for sure.
It could have been dug into really deep. We're gonna say, hey, we're gonna have 20 episodes right here.
right. Yeah,
for real.
It could have just kept going, but no, I think we touched on a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff there. We answered all the questions I had for the most part, that I could think of right now. I'm sure when I get out there tomorrow, I'll be like, damn it. Like I should have asked this or whatever, but it's like off the top of my head, like not going recently. I'm like,
yeah,
that's all I can think of to, like I'm basically asking you what I would be asking myself. Like, where do I start? What am I doing?
Sure.
That's the most important question, because on new waters or any water you go to, you're like, where do I start? How do I break down this lake? It's frozen over.
Right.
I can't track it with my fish finder, my scanner, and scan. Where's all the structure at?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Good point.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, Tim, you're going to be listening to this on Spotify or whatever you're on, and you're going to be listening to it on Monday. And you're like, "Fuck, man, I should have said this." But Tou, hopefully we'll have you back on, man. It was a really good conversation.
I would love to be back on.
I definitely think that there was a lot more in depth that we could have gone on a few of these, and we just have to, stop it for time.
Yeah,
I'm always open for more. So
yeah, I mean, right now I think that was perfect because we're going basic with it. We don't need to get too in depth,
right?
Because there's, like
an intro. Right?
I'm kind of gauging it, but I'm kind of gauging it based off of you, Josh, too. There was a couple of times where even you were like, I am lost, and I'm like,
let's break it down to the most simplest.
I knew you were when we started talking about it. I'm like, I'm gonna backtrack here and break this down a little bit because I'm not like, if anybody sees me looking down, that's my camera, that's Josh. And I look down every once in a while and I'm like, I can see the look on his face. I'm going back.
Because you can see me because my facial expressions were literally like, what the fuck did you
I don't even know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, for real. And that I think that's actually like the great base and like the great thing about Real AF TV is that we are about that is like, I was trying to explain earlier to Tou again, is just like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm trying to learn as much as I can. And that I do want to break down all those things and try to make it understandable. So that way it's now we go to the next episode and we start talking advanced. It's like a video game, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm level 1 and now the next podcast, we're going to be at level 2 and 3 and we can really get into it. And I won't have to interrupt with like, fuck is a point again?
Right. No, man,
what's that hump you talking about?
Right.
That's a good analogy too, though. Like, because I think you and anybody else listening that are beginners have an advantage over some of these old guys out there, because those old guys are set in their ways, and you can become a better fisherman than them. Because you're out here with an open mind, trying to learn stuff and trying to get better and being like, yes, I can level up. And them old guys are just being like, purple jigs only work on this. Like, you can't use
I've done this color for 50 years. It's the only way to do it.
Yes.
I'm not going to go your way.
Yep. Meanwhile, they can't pass that level. And then we're out there catching gold crappies. Like, what?
I've been fishing for 30 years. I'm a gold crappie.
Oh, right on.
That's the ultimate. That's the Easter egg.
right.
Yeah.
Gold crappie.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Tou. Thank you for coming on, man. We'll definitely have to have you back for different things.
Yes.
I think river fishing is going to be one of those topics, right? You do some river fishing?
Oh, I love river fishing.
There we go. That's it.
Nice.
That's what we call a teaser in the biz there, kids. So we're definitely going to get into river fishing because the goal of Real AF TV is to cover as much as possible, which is infinite topics about fishing, and
fishing, anything fishing pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm open to just, kind of sharing. I'm glad that I'm able to come on here and just talk about my experience in the last 10, 15 years of just enjoying the outdoors.
Yeah. That's
cool.
Awesome. So, I mean, before we wrap up and get into the random take where me and Tim are going to talk about all the crazy sports that are going on right now. Is there anything that you wanted to, plug or say or end with too before we wrap it up?
No, I just want to thank you guys for having me on here. Just break it down a little bit, make sure you guys understand how to start or what the lingo is about ice fishing or just fishing in general. When we talk about fishing, there's all these different lingo, different languages or different slangs that we say out here. When you're on the lake. So
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, no, and I appreciate you helping us break everything down. I know, like, I was just thinking about it today because I was listening to that Jason Mitchell Outdoors, and they are going off with all, like you said, the slang and the terms, and they are saying stuff, and I'm like, I fish all the time, and I'm losing them on some of this shit.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
Like, what did you say there?
Right. Yeah. Trying to rewind it and just like, I'm not familiar with that term. Could you elaborate on whatever that is?
Yeah. I like to feel like that's what I contribute to this podcast.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
But also, that's funny to say that. Rewind is earlier. Tou was like, "Oh, I go out and I fish for this and this," and Tim goes, "Oh, nice," and I'm like, "I don't know what the fuck you're fishing for, dude, because you didn't say walleye or crappie." And I can't remember the names now, right? Because it's so far further back.
Oh no, it was I know exactly
Cisco
what
or
you're talking about.
Tullaby.
Yeah, Cisco and Tullaby. Yep.
Bam. Let's wrap up
Yeah.
on that, guys. Explain it just a little
Yeah.
bit.
Right now, it's going to be picking up on those species right now with stonefly hatching, and it's their main target up north. So that's where we're going to be trying targeting in the next few weeks here.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and so they're more of like a whitefish, right?
Yeah, whitefish type. Yep.
Yeah, so they're pretty good eating, aren't they?
They're good eating. Their meat are flaky, really, not as tender, but really flaky and really good deep fried or smoked. A lot of my friends, they like to smoke it.
Okay, yeah, because I've never caught any personally, but I know that there's a couple of lakes that have them stocked, and I don't know if they've done it for a while, but my parents have a cabin on Lake Chaminade, and I know that they stocked Tullaby in there.
Yep.
Because that was food for the muskies.
Yeah, primary
For the
food
most
for
part.
muskies and northerns. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
I mean, we don't need to drag this on because this podcast could be 3 hours long if we keep going. But
we can talk fishing all night long.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And we still have another half to do. The question that I was going to ask is, okay, white meat fish. Like I can associate that because I eat I eat seafood. I eat a lot of seafood. I like seafood, and so like the white meat and all of that.
Well, like
But here's the thing: is like when I think about Minnesota fish, I think panfish. And then I think about walleye, and then I think about sport fish like bass. And then I think, okay, here's a pike, eater size, but they're a prey fish. So you don't necessarily eat them once they're this big. Like, how would you explain these two fish? And,
I would like, I call it white meat fish, or, like for me, because I do a lot of trout or salmon fishing, they're more like a red or orange meat fish.
Mm-hmm.
They're more like kind of like a steak versus like a pork, or a chicken.
Sure.
So that's how I kind of just correlate between the white meat from, the panfish or the crappie or the walleyes, or the salmon or the trout. They're more like a red, kind of like a beef meat where they're red,
Sure. So these, the Cisco and the Tullaby, right? Those are the names. Those are more, they're not like a walleye because they're not that flaky sort of fish, but they're not a crappie either because they're not a panfish.
Yeah, no,
they're kind of in between.
They look kind of like big ass shiner minnows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like a trout almost. I mean, not to discredit a trout, but I mean, shape wise.
They're literally like a gigantic, enormous shiner.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And then you can find them. I'm pretty sure they sell them in the grocery store.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you can go find them.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of fish that you find prepared like trout too, where you go in there. It's like the whole fish in the little, styrofoam.
I got you. Skin on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do the Ciscos come with a thong then?
Yeah.
Close.
You gotta, hey, if you're gonna be on the Real AF TV podcast, you got to bring the humor and you got to bring the thong humor.
They come with the G-string,
That's how you catch them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't even put it in the hole. You just shake it up. Above the hole. They come flying out.
Yep.
Flying out the hole like, I love it when the booty go.
The booty go. And they're just swimming in the air. Oh, awesome. Well, Tou, thanks for coming on the podcast. It was great to have you on.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a problem.
We'll have to. I know. I was like, shit. Tim's gonna say something. Now we just have this awkward pause right there.
That was late.
Trying to go into the second topic.
I thought you were gonna say something. You just kind of went, and then I'm like, oh. Oh, that's one thing about like the unscripted podcast is just like
Yep.
nobody ever talks about how this is gonna end.
Yep. And being from the Midwest, we're horrible at exits.
Yeah, it's just
Oh,
like
yeah.
so you guys and then all of a sudden just like drift out for
And all of a sudden you're gone. That's why we end the podcast. We literally just drift off into conversation with the music
Every
plays,
time.
because every single time. We've done 37, 38 podcasts and plus, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know. We just keep talking. Eventually, I just have to edit it out so it's not 3 hours long.
we just fade out the vocals into the outro music and then that's it. It's
Yep.
just done.
Fade it out and just play the outro music and be like, call it a day.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, too. We're going to get into the second half of the podcast, the random take, as we call it here on the Real AF TV podcast, where me and Tim are going to talk about all the friggin' sports that just happened. Because when this drops on Monday, a lot of those sports are going to be over. So,
yes.
Thank you again for having me.
yeah, thank you too.
Yes, thank you.
Looking forward to the next time.
Yes, very much.
Yes.
All right, man.
Yep.